what's going on, everyone? If you're on LinkedIn, what's up? Make sure to drop in, where you're joining us from, what your role is as well. I like to always understand, hey, do we have some more strategic folks in the mix? We've got some more tactical leaders in the mix. So looking forward to the conversation today. So today is 3 must-haves for your 2023 sales plan. So if you are a modern leader and you're someone who's out there and you're like, man, there's a million things that I need to focus on for next year. Maybe you're on the front lines and you're like, Jake, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not quite sure, what it is I should focus on, or I've got a million other things to focus on. I'm going to try to drop you my top 3. Okay. And some of these in particular are going to be maybe not exactly what you think they should be. And what I mean by that is that for a lot of you, what you might be looking at is Jake, okay, we got to fix outbound, or we got to fix our sales process or sales methodology. So, but I'm going to tell you this, is that might not be the problem. And that I'll drop it here into chat as well too, so you all have it. What's up, Trip from Northern Ohio? So the first thing that I want to talk about here, so Trip Braden's joining us from Northern Ohio. He dropped in where he's joining us from. We're continuing to get more people on the Zoom, which is a lot of fun too. What's going on? We've got, how many people we got on LinkedIn? Oh, we've got about 23, 24 folks on LinkedIn. I'll drop the link in here too. Make sure if you, again, aren't already subscribed, this is a part of our Modern Leader series. I'm here doing this every single Monday, talking to you about trends in sales and sales leadership. If you like LinkedIn, keep joining LinkedIn Live. If instead you want to set up like a reoccurring invite and join on Zoom, you can join on Zoom here. Here's the sign up, everyone, as well. So make sure to do that. I'll drop this here for everyone in the chat here. If you aren't already signed up for the Modern Leader, sign up for it. This is a series where I just talk about topics I think are relevant to leaders, but also trickle down to the front lines. So the number one thing that organizations should be doing to prepare for 2023 is mapping their customer journey. Now, like I said before, and I preface this, I think a lot of you out there might say, well, mapping my customer journey. Well, Jake, that seems interesting. Maybe we should think about mapping our customer journey. The reality is, and I was just literally on with a VP of sales, 45 minutes ago. We're talking about all the things, talking about all the processes. Oh, this is this, and I need to fix this. The reality is, my friends, one. And so what I see is organizations are like, we got to do this. It's like, stop the madness. As what's his name? Kevin from Shark Tank would say, stop the madness, right? There can be only one bottleneck. And what I feel like has happened is what we do is we see an issue. And again, I want you to imagine a pipe. Imagine a pipe that needs to flow water. And imagine at different parts of this pipe, there are different calcium deposits that are blocking the flow more than others. What I feel like many marketing and sales organizations do is they see a calcium deposit like, hey, we got to fix that. We got to fix that one. We got to go in. Oh, we need to buy new technology. We need to go do something different. And then it doesn't actually end up solving it, because guess what? The one bottleneck was actually over here or later. And so they see some improvement, but it's not moving the needle like they need to see. So I want you to think about this. How many of you, a lot of people said, I think it was like, I did a survey, it was last week, the week before, 30%, 40% of people said they've done this. I don't, I would like to see your customer journeys. How many of you have actually built out a customer journey, which says, based on how a lead comes in, what are the different ways that they could go from there and then return back, right? Because it's not just about linear, it's about a return path. How many of you have done that? So if you have not done this, I implore you, as a leadership team, it's going to take you maybe a couple of hours. We use a tool called Mural. It's mural.co. Shout out to Mural. I'll toss the link in. We use Mural is the name of it for this. So for any of you, if you're trying to map your customer journey, I just find Mural is really easy. Mural's a really easy platform to be able to do some of this mapping and things like that. So Also, if you guys haven't noticed, I've got a new layout here. I got a new layout at the crib in the office. So I'd love to hear your feedback on the new layout, what our thoughts are, etc. So that's it. So I hope that helps some of you out there with that concept. Got a question here from Ross Morgan. Ross, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing fantastic. Ross asked the question, hey, Jake, you said might not be a sales process or method problem. Can you tell us more? What tells you that these two aren't the problem? Okay, this is great. So I don't know. It could be a mixture of things. So I want to be very clear here. I don't want to speak in too broad of generalizations. Instead, what I'll tell you is many times behaviors that I see companies try to solve, and then they solve the wrong problem. So let's take sales methodology or sales. I'm just going to start with methodology. Okay, let's say you use, the funny part is none of them want to call themselves methodologies now. I'm just going to say MedPick. The issue, let's say the issue that your sales team's having is multi-threading. Okay, we're doing MedPick. We're doing it. Well, okay, you're doing it, but are you actually solving for getting more people involved? Right? Are you actually, is the methodology the problem? Or, and again, this goes back to when you map your customer journey, or is it actually our onboarding process is screwed? And we don't teach people how to have executive level conversations. So instead, what we need to do is we need to teach people how to have executive conversations. We don't need a new methodology or a new process. They're just, the bottleneck is that there's a skill gap. So for this problem, we're going to solve with a skill gap, refactoring of our sales playbook. There you go. So Ross, what I would say is that I think sometimes what we do is we look at these things systematically. We say our methodology. We look at our process. That's not what's happening. I'll give you another really tactical example here, Ross. And by the way, great question. Keep the questions coming. I love them. I'll give you another tactical example. Jake, our sales cycle is 64 days and we need to shorten it. Okay. My friends, the reality is your sales process is made up of 6 steps. It's 6 steps. There's step 1 that usually takes X. And by the way, this varies wildly from rep to rep too, which makes this a lot more complex. The reality is, you know what? It's not our sales cycle that needs to slow down. It's our trial process. Holy crap. Our trial process, when I compare that step in stage conversion rate from our top performer to bottom, oh my God, that's what we got to go fix. We need a whole new playbook for how we run proof of concepts. Boom. So we're not fixing our holistic, we're identifying the bottleneck. No plural, no S, neck. So Ross, that's what I mean. Is that it's usually not it's usually not as grandiose of like, we need a whole new, refrigerator or whatever. It's like, no, you just need like a new part. Like that part's just broken. Like don't throw out the freaking refrigerator. So Ross, I hope that helps. It was a great freaking question. My friends, keep the questions like that coming. They're super, super helpful. Okay, so number 1, hopefully all of you are going to do this. Map your customer journey. You have to do this. Hey, what is my customer? What do they do? What are the different ways we interact with them? You know what? We might have a template for this. DM me on LinkedIn or drop a note in the chat with a quick letter Y. Just drop a Y in the chat if you're on the Zoom or on LinkedIn, DM me. And I think I've got a template for this I can share with you all as well, which I mean, hey, who doesn't like to start from not step 0? Okay, number 2. So now you've mapped your customer journey. And again, a lot of you are like, well, Jake, my top priority is to improve outbound. I totally get it. I get it. Map the process. Okay, if you're, okay, well, all right, step 1. How are we getting in for, and I'm going to go, this is my kind of second one, which is like your internal functions. Okay, well, I want to reach out to the right people. Okay, is it that our messaging sucks? Is it that the tool sucks? A lot of times we're quick to point the tool, right? We're like, oh, well, just outreach isn't integrated. It's like, no, like your sequences suck, right? So anyway, a lot of your problems can be solved if you just do a good job of identifying bottlenecks. But you got to map the whole system. I'm telling you that's what's broken. If you don't map the whole system, you might find a calcium deposit. You might find an issue. But wow, did you miss the bigger one that was over here? So again, if you map the journey, and this is continual, you should be updating this every 60, 90 days. Now what's changed? Okay, so we cleared out this calcium deposit. Where's the next big one that's stopping the water flowing through our funnel, through our tube? Okay. So the mapping process never stops. Okay. Number 2. And again, if you DM me or drop a Y in the chat on Zoom, I will do my best. I'll get you a template. I know I have one for this. So Trip says why. Becca, let's make sure we get Trip that. Number 2, I'll drop it here in the chat. Give me 1 second. Find it's helpful. Joel says yes. What's up, Joel? And everyone from San Francisco. What's going on, Mr. Rodriguez? If you guys don't know what Joel's up to, Joel, feel free to toss a link in the Zoom chat. I'll put it over on LinkedIn. Joel is running a referral technology that's pretty interesting. I think a lot of you should take a look at. Okay, number 2, and again, everyone wants the quick fix. Everyone wants the opportunity to, like, oh well, if we just fix our sequences, you can come in, buddy. What are you doing? Just go over there. There you go. My son just came in. Kids have off school. I don't know about y'all. Ross said, good answer. I find this stuff is understood, but very rarely is it institutionalized. Exactly, Ross. It's really not. If you really want to have a customer specific approach, it's a DNA thing. And I think a lot of companies just don't have that DNA as a part of it. Elaine will get you. Joel will get you. Trip will get you. I saw all of you ask for the template. Okay, so number 2 here, I just dropped it in, is a cohesive data and reporting across the rev org. Okay, this one sounds boring. I mean, just reading this, I'm want to take a nap potentially. Okay, because why? Well, reporting is something that the big guys need, the exec team or the board needs. Our problem couldn't be, it's not just the reporting, it's that we got to go fix this other stuff, as well too. Okay. Look, I don't know. I for some reason, okay, I was not good at a lot of other things in school, but I gravitated towards stats. And I'll tell you a story about data. And I realized very early in sales that if I didn't have data, okay, if I didn't have the data that I needed as a part of this, how the heck, like, if I don't have the data, how can I get better? So I'll tell you this story. If you follow my content, you probably heard me tell it before. My very first job out of college was with the Tampa Bay Rays. Okay. And I was in ticket sales. And what I did is, after the first season, what would happen is we had a phone loop. Okay. Our CRM was dog shit. It was called Goldmine. Okay. So we had a phone loop. And basically it was like the inbound leads bounced between everybody. Okay. If you were on the phone, it would go to the next person, etc. And I did a scatter plot. Like, as part of me is like, I don't even remember how I knew how to do this. I don't know if I do it. I think I could do it now. I can figure it out. And I basically mapped all the times when calls came inbounds, and I found that there's these gaps for at like 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock or 4:30 or something. So what happened is I did all my emails during those, doing the times outside of those, and all my calls during those blocks, because I knew I wouldn't miss out on an inbound cold call. Well, what ended up happening is, so then all my peers are getting on the phone, that's skipping. So then the next inbound lead comes to me. Tampa Bay Rays, this is Jake. They get back on the phone. Tampa Bay Rays, this is Jake. And this happens for like a week. They are pissed. And I'm hitting all my numbers, hitting all my activity stuff, still hitting all my outbounds, still hitting my goals. Now I'm just like gravy on top. And I'm like, guys, this is what the data says to do. Why aren't you all doing this? And because I had the data, I'm like, guys, why are any of you making calls? You guys see what I do. And the crazy part is no one changed their behavior. It's like, and so again, the power of data, right, is so often when it comes to data, we look at it as it's management's job. It's not that helpful. It's for, other people or something like that. The reality is, the idea of understanding the complete picture of what happens at each step, the conversion rates for the individual, for me as an individual, because look, I don't, my sales ops team, my rev ops team is telling me the average sales cycle is 54 days, and the average, like, blah, blah. I don't care about any of that. What are my stats? And there are tools, my friends, that exist today to generate those stats. Okay. And so I think for a lot of organizations, you're not doing this for the board. You're not doing this for arts and crafts or because you think that you should. you are doing this so you can improve your own sales process, right? So making sure that you have ways to track each step of the process is absolutely mission critical. Like I said before, this is not a RevOps only function. This is at an individual level should be thinking about this. And most RevOps orgs are not very good at this, if I'm just being candid. We come in on the heels of RevOps orgs, and I love you, all my RevOps leaders. But again, we have to look at this customer journey first, and then what's the data that we want to track, and how are we using technology as a part of that, right? We're seeing technology consolidation happen to some extent. I think the people that are building the new platforms want to see it happen faster, but the reality is it's just not happening that fast. So that's it, y'all. Number 2 is having a cohesive data and reporting, and then again making sure your tech stack is optimized the way. My best guess is that companies are using maybe 20 to 30% of their tech stack, maybe, and it's because of this. Your sales ops team has never implemented these tools together, and maybe they did it once. We've seen it 400 times. Right. So when my team goes in, they can tell you like, okay, look, these are the ways that you do it. These are your options, etc. And so I think for a lot of teams, like we're going to see sales move the way that marketing moved. Marketing hires specialists. They hire, a HubSpot expert. They hire, a marketing agency or a performance marketing agency, a web design agency, a design agency. Marketing is used to bring in outside experts because they realize my full-time team can never do it. Sales continues to staff operations roles that need specialized skill sets and knowledge with generalists. And then we wonder why we're only getting 20 to 30% out of your tech stack. So you need to staff your teams with experts in these tools, right? And it's, whether you use Skaled or use someone else like us, it's impossible today to know how to optimize these tools because they're evolving so quickly if you're not hiring experts. So sales operations, cohesive data, cohesive reporting across, and then making sure that you're using your tech the right way, or you're consolidating your tech. If you guys saw my post, I put it out there a little sneaky last week. We're doing a new tech audit that we do it 100% free, and you just pay us based on the savings or revenue gains. Free. So if your team wants to take a look at your sales tech stack, hit me up. Happy to help. Okay, as a part of that. All right. Last but certainly not least, let me pull this in. Oh, golly. This is a great one. I'm sure this will resonate. Number 3. All right, here we go. So again, number 3 is this. All right. It kind of combines the thoughts from number 1 and number 2, but it's the outbound strategy for companies. Woof. Oh man, there's just so many different ways to start here. I'm telling you right now, and again, I'm just going to pull this marketing example forward again too. When marketing, let's say a team has a bunch of SDRs, right? So they're spending, $200,000 a month on SDRs. Let's say and what's an SDR's job? Well, generate qualified pipeline, right? I mean, that's the job. Okay, you're spending that same company spending $200,000 on Google ads and LinkedIn ads. That company's spending at least 10 to 20% of that to optimize the performance of the ads. The SDR organization is spending, zero. Halftime of like 3 people. There's no concept of when you run a Google ad, you run, then you do like 5 variations and you test, and then you do another 10 variations and you test, then you do another 20. Sales right now is like every 6 to 12 months. And people think that creating new sequences is like a sprint. It's like a new campaign we're going to build, as opposed to this mindset of always optimizing. I want everyone out there to just keep this in mind. You are never done optimizing your outbound process. It can always get better. So if you're not out there A/B testing, you're not out there trying new things, being creative, allowing your team to break the bank, spend 20% of your team trying something different. Here's what the data says. I need you to perform here, and then be doing experiments with the other 10%, 20% of your time. Okay. Again, and if I don't have the data and insights, how can I know what's working or what's not working? Right. So again, I would highly encourage all of you is like the outbound strategy. If you repeat the same way that you thought about outbound and you're optimizing it next year, you are not going to be in a good place. You probably aren't already, right? You're probably already struggling to some extent, right? And my point is, if you're really worried about outbound this year, if you keep doing more of the same things, it's going to be worse next year. It's going to be way, 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 way worse next year. So again, for all of you out there, what process do I have in place to continually optimize my outbound performance? That's it. Does your messaging, what part of your messaging is what's not working? Who do you have on your team that is looking in the data and saying, boom, what is this person doing? I need to go inspect that. Boom, let me pull that back. Let me put together how to synthesize that. I'm going to redeploy that to the rest of the team now. How many of you, and go ahead, you can raise your hand virtually or put a clap. How many of you do not have a person whose sole responsibility is for optimizing outbound performance? You don't have a person. Put a thumbs up, clap, something. I'm curious, like, what percentage of people actually have this? If you're in Zoom, you can just drop a yes, no. Yeah, exactly. Trip says no, we don't have that. I'm curious who else, or if people do think that they have it. If you're like, no, we got that person, great. You're ahead of the curve. But that's, I think, what you're getting at and what you're seeing in these trends that I'm talking about. And this is the beginning of me talking about trends. So get ready for December. Is if you don't have a good idea of your customer experience and especially maybe, and you're really focused maybe on your customer experience in your part of the job. Maybe it's customer success. Hey, I'll control what I can control first. What's our experience like? Oh man, what are our touch points? Then how do I create accuracy in terms of how I understand what's happening? So then I can actually know the data points so I can improve. If you don't have the data points at each, you can't improve. You're just guessing at what works. You're guessing at, oh, we should do it this way, etc. And then last but not least is certainly outbound. That, my friends, I think next year is going to be really hard for a lot of companies. I think we're going to see a lot of layoffs of SDR teams. And it's not their fault. It's that right now sales is not set up to work in a way to support SDRs to help them optimize their performance. That's it. If your team is not set up to help to optimize performance, to help to always look at the data, what's working, what's not working, it is going to be a tough 2023. So anyway, on a positive note, okay, all this is very fixable. This is all very fixable. Okay, I'm going to spend the last couple minutes here. Also, next week, a couple things for you. Next week, I'm going to talk about how to get buyers excited to do business with you. I think I got a better title for this now. It's like, how to get buyers engaged. Also, make sure, like I said, you can subscribe to this and to the Modern Leader newsletter. So make sure you can get the alerts if you just sign up below so you don't miss next week as well. I see a lot of people saying, no, we do not have that person. So the very first thing you can do, map the journey. Number 2, do a tech audit. Like I said, we're doing them for free. Happy to kind of give you guys our best practices. Hope it helps. Or do it yourself, whatever works for you. And number 3 is outbound. If you guys do not develop an always optimizing outbound strategy, the results will continue to not be there. And it's very simple. And it's because the buyer behavior, what they're interested in, what kind of information they want, all that is changing. As we get more and more used to having things at our fingertips, it's just what buyers want evolving. Think about it like this. Let's take your average grocery store. Let's take, I'm here in Texas. So we've got HEB. I know anyone in Texas is like, yeah, everyone loves HEB here. Pandemic hits. HEB is like, people come to us. That's what happens. All right. They're like, oh man, we got to figure out delivery. Figured out delivery. Okay, now we got to figure out order online, pick up in your car. Okay. Then we got to figure out how to integrate with Amazon Fresh Cart and some of these other ones. Okay. Imagine if over the last 2 years they didn't evolve. 3 years. People are going to start going elsewhere. And I'm telling you, in your B2B process right now, because we don't have multiple ways for people to interact, we're not looking at different buyer intent, we're going to be in a really tough spot. So just think about that. Do I have a process for the drive-up buyer, for the online buyer, for the person who likes, I think right now all of our processes are built for the person who likes to come to the store and talk to a sales rep, right? Or do you have processes for people to do that? And you're going to understand that by mapping the customer journey, making sure you have the data to then understand what's happening so you can continue to optimize. And finally, you're looking at your outbound processes like a micro part of this and making sure you have an always optimized strategy.